Hello everyone and welcome to VMwareLab.org. My name is Mahar Al-Asfar. I'm a Cloud Management Staff SE with VMware. In this video, we will be looking at how to deploy vRealize Automation 8.0 with vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager 8.0. In a high level, the deployment workflow will start by us upgrading vIDM to 3.3.1 since it's one of the prerequisites. We will create a new LCM environment. We will provide the environment inputs and select VRA 8.0 for deployment. We'll configure and submit the request and then monitor and verify the installation. As for the requirements, of course, we will need vRealize Lifecycle Manager 8.0 to be up and running. We also need VMware Identity Manager 3.3.1, so we will be doing an upgrade to the existing instance of vIDM, which is 3.3.0. We also want to make sure that we have a new host name, IP address, and a DNS record for the new VRA 8.0 appliance that the vRealize Lifecycle Manager 8.0 will be creating. And finally, make sure the product mapping is set with the install and upgrade binaries for the new vRealize Suite 2019 products. So let's get started. In part 2 of my vRealize Automation 8.0 blog video series, we have upgraded vRealize Lifecycle Manager 2.1 to 8.0 by performing a side-by-side migration, leveraging the vRealize Easy Installer while importing the management of both VMware Identity Manager 3.3.0 and the vRealize Suite 2018 environment. In this case, it was called VMware Lab. This included products such as vRealize Automation 7.6, vRealize Business for Cloud 7.6, vRealize Log Insight 4.8, and vRealize Operations 7.5.0. If we remember the requirements that we've talked about at the beginning of the video, we mentioned that to be able to use LCM 8.0 to deploy VRA 8.0, we need the VMware Identity Manager 3.3.1. So one of the things that we will be doing in this video is first upgrading vIDM 3.3.0 to 3.3.1, since it is one of the requirements before you can install vRealize Automation 8.0. We've also set a new host name and IP address and a DNS record for the new VRA 8.0 appliance that the LCM 8.0 will be creating once we create the request. One of the requirements was to set the product mapping or the binary mappings with all the install and upgrade binaries required for the deployment of the new vRealize Suite 2019. If we go to the settings and click on binary mapping, you will see that we have set and added all the binaries needed for the vRealize Suite 2019 products. First thing we need to do in the global environment where it includes the vIDM 3.3.0, we have, or I already taken a snapshot for just in case we needed to revert back in case anything happens during the upgrade. So if you look at the view history, just a few minutes ago, I created a snapshot. I called it before upgrade, and I have selected a checkbox to snap that or snap the shot with memory. If we actually switch to vCenter and select the existing IDM, we can see clearly if we actually right-click on the IDM 01 appliance. And if we go to the snapshot, manage a snapshot, you'll see that we have our snapshot created. Great. Now that we have the snapshot taking as a precautions, we can go to the Lifecycle Manager and simply hit the upgrade. During the upgrade, this is a small wizard that's going to take us through the upgrade of Identity Manager. One of the first thing here, it's recommending that we take a snapshot, which we did. Also, if we did not have the upgrade package for vIDM 3.3.1, we would have got an error here saying that you need first to set upgrade the product binary for vIDM. We will hit next. We will run the pre-check to make sure everything, all the data is validated. And the pre-check, there's about 8 different checks that the pre-check does here in this situation to make sure that everything is validated. And it looks like we passed. And if we take a look at just some of the sample checks that we're doing, things like the SSH status, the health status, the version check, disk space availability, and like server ports opened, and etc. And there's a second page to this as well that includes further testing. Awesome. So you have also the ability to download this report for your reference. We'll click next. Now the upgrade is ready to go. This is the upgrade details, and we'll hit submit. All right, as you can see, the request is completed, and it took about 52 minutes. Of course, this is done in a small home lab. I'm guessing this would this would have been a lot faster if this was running on enterprise class hardware. So let's go ahead and check our environment. So there was 2 stages that was completed. One is the upgrade vIDM offline, and the other one is actually the inventory update, the LCM inventory update. So it runs, which runs after the upgrade is completed. If we switch to the environment and look at our product here, you'll see that we're running at 3.3.1 right now. And if we actually go in and log in into the vIDM -01 appliance, I want to make sure that we can still log in and everything is okay. It seems all right. So if we actually log in with admin, which is the built-in admin account, just to make sure that the IDM appliance is fully functional. And you can see here that the VMware Identity Manager is already upgraded to 3.3.1, and this is the build number. So everything seems okay, so we're good to go. I can exit out of this, and now we're basically ready to deploy vRealize Automation 8.0. And to do that in LCM 8.0, we will have to create a new environment to install VRA 8.0. Now you can access the create environment from the left side menu, or if you were on the dashboard level, you can click create environment from the top of the page. So they both take you to the same place. So let's go ahead and create an environment. First, we're going to provide all the common inputs. Notice that before you are able to create an environment, you must have downloaded and discovered and added all the product binaries, which we did already. If you're creating an environment and importing existing products, you do not need to configure product binary since you're already importing pre-existing instances of any of the vRealize Suite products. So let's go ahead and we'll call this Demo Lab. We'll provide the administrator email. We'll provide a password. You can create a password that you can store in the locker service within LCM, or you can choose any of the captured password when we actually did the migration from LCM 2.1 to 8.0. I know I want to use the same installer password because I know what that password is. So I'm going to just simply select that instead of creating a new password. I'm going to select the data center that I will be targeting, and that would be the Toronto data center in my in my scenario. Lastly, you have the option to continue on joining the VMware customer experience since it's selected by default, or you can uncheck it if you don't want to be part of the customer experience improvement program. We'll hit next. This is where we have the option to select the products we want to install in this environment. I'm not going to select everything. I only need to select VRA 8 because I'm planning to upgrade using LCM 8.0 the other products that I have, which will be showcased in another video. So let's go ahead and select vRealize Automation. I'm doing a new install. I'm not importing an existing instance of VRA. If that was the case, I would have just simply said import. And the version that I'm selecting, this is the two versions that LCM 8.0 supports today. The last release of 7.6, and then you have the 8.0, which what we're deploying here in this video. The deployment type, this is just for a home lab, but if this was production, you have the option to create this as a 3-node VRA cluster. So we'll keep the deployment type to standard and click next. We'll this is the end user license agreement. We'll scroll all the way down and select agree to the terms and conditions and go next to the licensing portion. Now I have already added the licenses that I need for this. So you have the option to add a license. Again, the licenses are simply added to the locker service. So you can do that, and you'll see all the licenses in front of you, which you can later use while you're installing any of the products. So let's go back to the to our request. So here I'm going to select a license. I have vRealize Suite 2019 and Enterprise license. So I'm going to use that and hit update. And you can see here that you need some sort of a validation that you would have to, that is associated with the environment that we're creating. So simply hit validate association. And then that basically compares the key that you have chosen against the product that you have you're trying to install. We'll hit next. The certificate, I've already created one. As long as these are SAN certificate, so you have again the option to create a new certificate. I did create a certificate that basically includes the FQDN of the server, which is management 02. That's the fully qualified domain of the new VRA 8.0 appliance. Along with the IP address, so they're part of the SNA or the subject alternative name type of certificate that we're creating here. So we'll hit next. Now it's the time to set all the infrastructure. So the infrastructure. So this is the destination vCenter that we'll be targeting in the Toronto data center when we actually selected Toronto as the data center that we are creating this against. So this is the vCenter within Toronto. Selecting the management cluster, and then selecting the folder. I've already created a vRealize Suite 2019 folder. So I'm gonna target that for the appliance. You can use a specific resource pool if you want to. Right now, I'm going to be using, like the rest of my appliances and VMs, the root resource pool. Select the network that this appliance is going to be running on or using. And then select the data store, and the select disk mode. I'm going to go with thin here. I'm going to hit next. The default gateway, that's the network metadata, so we'll put our gateway 192.168.1.110.1 and the subnet mask, and then the domain name, and then the domain search path, which is pretty much the same. Here I can add new DNS servers. Or select from the server collection here where we've already configured a DNS that we can always use. So I'm just going to select it. This one actually configured in 2.1 and was migrated when we did the migration. The same thing with the time sync mode. For the NTP server, you can add net new or select something that you've already configured. And that's what we're going to do here. Hit next. All right, so that completes the network metadata. We'll hit next. Now we're talking the actual vRealize appliance, and this is super easy. So we have the certificate already set, we have the password, and then this is where we provide the VM name. So the VM name is going to be management VRA-02. The host name is the fully qualified, so the same thing. 02, we'll simply add VMware Lab local, and the IP address I've assigned it's 192.168.110.40. All right, so this is the three basic properties that we need. If you need to do more or change something, you can click on the advanced configuration and it pulls some of the properties that we've already set if you want to change them at this level. We don't have anything, so if you have to go or you want to pause this, what you can do is save and exit and then come back and restart where you stopped. So now we're at the pre-check. So this is where we execute all the data validations to make sure that there's no errors or warning. And then if there are errors or warning, we'll follow instructions from the recommended action table that comes up and see if we can fix and then rerun the pre-check. So let's go ahead and run it. All right, that was pretty fast. I did not fast forwarded this section pretty fast compared to the 7.x release. Okay, so let's see what happened here. We have 11 tests that we did on the data validation. So if I actually expand that, you'll see all the different checks. There's like 3 pages of this on this section in terms of the checks that we do. And the components we do the check against. So on the data validation, there was 11. On the infrastructure validation, there were 13. And these are some of the checks that we do. So detailed in terms of what we check against and on what components and what's the result. And if there's any recommendation, if any of those checks failed. And the last one, we have the actual VRA validation. And there was 5 tests that passed. So we're good to go. We don't have anything that need to fix or anything like that. So we'll hit next. Just to go over the summary of what we did. You can expand all the properties in terms of what we've done and go over it to double check. Also at this time you can export this configuration. So if I want to use this configuration and don't have to do this again, I can simply use the JSON configuration file that I just downloaded here to create the same environment with simply just importing the file here and not having to go through all those steps. So that's a great way of just backing up your configuration work. All right, we're ready to go and let's submit. Now we're looking at 10 stages that we have to complete. So let's sit back and watch the deployment completes. All right, and the request is completed, and you can see we were successful throughout the 10 stages. We can see all the stages and the time it took for each stage to complete. And the two top stages that took the most amount of time was stage 4, 27 minutes, and stage 8, 60 minutes. If we do go to the environments, we should see the demo lab environment has been created, and it includes vRealize automation 8.0. If we look at some of the details, now I can add components, look at the menu, add the new license, delete the product, retrust with Identity Manager if I want to reestablish my connectivity, snapshot, and I can take any day 2 actions on the appliance. You can see that I have one appliance. I can change the node password here. If I expand all, I can access all the properties, etc. The most important thing is now, can we actually access VRA? So HTTPS management VRA-02. Automatically we'll go there. We get the splash screen, the login page for VRA 8.0, and we'll click on that. That will redirect us to IDM, which means the authentication and the connection with IDM is already established. We're going to use the configuration admin user that we've basically created during the migration from LCM 2.1 to LCM 8.0. And we will sign in. Okay, and here you have it. We can access Cloud Assembly, Code Stream, Service Broker, the Orchestrator, and Migration Assessment. If we click on Cloud Assembly, we can clearly log into it, look at all the menu and the configuration that we need to do to create cloud accounts and cloud zones. Let's see if we can access Service Broker. Yep, seems okay. We can access the content and create sources and content sharing. Let's see, Code Stream, or CI/CD pipeline or release management. Yep, we can access it. We have the guided diagram. Let's see if we can access Orchestrator. The client seems to work, and we're right in. And finally, let's go back to the Cloud Services console. All right, this concludes this video. Thank you for watching.